Oh, I guess I should have this in front of me. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Turnout. I am your host, Aloy. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification, all that amazing stuff. We also have memberships and whatnot. And since we will be here a lot more frequently, I actually had a few people who were members, but since we took a break, um, they left. So, hey, feel free to come on back. Also, if you are here and you're watching, uh, don't forget to hit that like. I already said that. But also, specifically for hitting the like during a live stream, it's a big deal because what it does is it makes sure that other people are also then alerted that the live stream is going. So hit that like. Very much appreciated. And yeah, oh my gosh. So we're here. We're talking about You Can Never Go Home Again. Charmed. Season 4, season 4, episode 2. Um, so I'm going to talk generally about it. I'm going to give a couple of minutes for other people to show up. I had given myself at 4:05 is when I was going to go live. I gave myself I was like, I maybe might need 5 more minutes. But I went ahead and came in a little bit early. So I'm going to give people a few minutes to go ahead and show up. Hey to Abby, hey to Decidus, and hey to Superman fan. Hey, looks like the crew is here. So yes, definitely. I have to say, I'm just going to say overall, this episode was very, very good. Definitely no real quibbles. There's a couple of little things that I'm just going to, we can basically chalk it up to, it's TV, sometimes you have to have characters say things or do things that, push the story forward, if you will. But there's a couple of little things that I'm like, hey, wait a minute. But a lot of this stuff is honestly just me overthinking. Generally, though, this episode was really, really strong. Again, what I said for the first episode, the premiere of this season, was that I already felt that the writing team was doing just a better job. Just a whole lot better in terms of the showing and not telling. I talk a lot about that on this channel. But also just the general way that they are having the actors deliver the information. There's way less exposition so far this season in just these 2 episodes. Hello to Madness Arcade. But yeah, so I think that just the team is doing an amazing job. I don't know if that's in the first step in my first review for this season, I said that. And when it's interesting that the Charmed writers followed me on Twitter after I posted that. See, before I was critical and they didn't follow me, and I said that they did a good job, and then they followed me. That's interesting. And I'm not continuing to say that they're doing a good job so that they don't unfire me. Honestly, I just thought it was really, really strong. So you know what? We have a handful of people here, so I'm going to start going through this. As always, I'm going to go ahead and go through my main notes and give a recap of the episode. This is not a replacement for actually watching the episode. I talk about the highlights that I notice and whatnot, but really go watch the episode. Some people are like, why didn't you mention this? And it's just like, because that's not part of my review and you're supposed to watch the episode. I shouldn't have to say everything. But what I will say though, is that this episode did a good job of reintroduce kind of exactly what I had said in my first episode review, is that I really needed more reintroduction into the characters that we already know. They spent a lot of time introducing Kayla in the first episode, so I needed more from the established characters, and I think we got that. And they also touched on a couple of things that I mentioned out of the first episode 2 that annoyed me. If anybody watched my review for the first episode of season 4, I think I went on about a 10 or 15 minute rant about names, and that played a factor in this episode, so I was very happy about that. So let's go ahead and start. So apparently, we start off with Bryn and Kayla, and they're in the junkyard. They're sneaking in because her bus her bus house, was towed. And again, we it's been announced and everybody's been talking about, especially in my comment section from the first episode, of the fact that Kayla was going to be bisexual and whatnot. So the first thing is, Bren's just like, well, she's like, what happened? She's like, I went home with somebody. And she goes, was it Steven? And she goes, no. And she says, don't tell me it was Amy. And she goes, no. So I was just like, hey, bisexual, and didn't even, like nobody batted an eye. It's just kind of there. I liked that. I thought that that was cool. But Mel has been texting, has been texting and calling and leaving a ton of messages and whatnot. It's a bit too much for her, and I like that. I like the fact that this character is not just like, oh, I can be yeah, let's do it. It's like that did seem. It's unbelievable if you do it that way. Now, she's like, hey, I got a lot of stuff going on in my own life. Maybe I don't want to do this. So yeah, so there was that. So then, so they did a lot of really good callbacks in this episode too. So we get introduced to her slingshot named Slingy, which I loved, and that there was a guard in the junkyard, so she uses the slingshot to distract the guard. And I was like, yay, I like that. But Mel's message that she's leaving while Bryn and Kayla are like at the junkyard, Mel's leaving a voicemail of like, hey, I mean, you're 26 and I'm 28. Maybe my mom had a baby that I didn't know about. And I'm just like, I feel like the writers are just like listening in on all of the crazy like conversations we're all having. And and I've been saying this whole time, I do not think it's going to end up being Marisol's daughter. I think a few people were like, well, maybe it's Ray's daughter, and I'm like, well, Ray's not magic, so that wouldn't make any sense. I'm hoping that it's not a sister. I really hope that she is not actually related to them, and that there's some other reason, because then that's the mystery. If it's just, oh yeah, hey, you were related to us all along, like that's not interesting. I want interesting. I want changes. I don't want predictable. So yeah, hey. So her bus house won't start. And the junkyard pulls a gun. And I was like, really? Like, that's hardcore. Probably against like all of the rules. Like, did he receive training? Like, he like literally pulled a gun. I don't know. I feel I'll stop there. But like the fact that like people are so quick to pull guns on TV shows is, I mean, it happens. It definitely does happen. And this security guard didn't seem like he was the type of person. Like, he seemed like he was already skittish. The fact that you can distract him with a slingshot, he's like, like, so like he's already kind of skittish. Don't give that kind of person a gun, because they will draw it. But I was just like, whoa, that's crazy that he's drawing a gun on them. Anyway, that was just me. So she starts thinking like, oh, I gotta like get out of this. How do I get out of this? And the butterflies that were on the side of her house bus, or bus house, they come to life and they like attack the security guard. It was the weirdest. I was like, butterfly attacks? Like he's like, wah! Like, I think it would have been different if it was like bees, but it was butterflies. Like, are you being attacked by butterflies? That's just odd. But we also see that they came off the side of the bus. So yes, it does make sense. Again, one of the things that I had said before, I was like, if she has already drawn something and she can make it come to life in the moment, then there's no time. She doesn't have to spend the time to draw it. I think that's really cool. And at this point, everything's been working accidentally anyway. So she's not even doing it until the end of this episode here. But it is helpful that she's driving around in a vehicle full of her drawings. Then Witch Mary Poppins shows up. And they even call her murdery Poppins later on, just to call attention to the fact. But I immediately saw this lady and I said, that's Mary Poppins. Like, She's an older lady. She's wearing the Mary Poppins thing. She's got the hat. She's got a bag that you can put anything in. And in this case, it's got a tentacle monster in it. I know I'm jumping ahead a bit, but I was like, that's Mary Poppins. And then for them to actually even then call out the fact that she's very Mary Poppins-ish, I was like, bravo. But yeah, I got total Mary Poppins vibes off of this lady, and I don't even care. I don't even think they said her name. They just said what she was. So yeah. So anyway, sometimes I will fraction off the storylines. In this case, I think I'm just going to keep going point for point. But which Mary Poppins shows up looking for Kayla? Doesn't find her. So there you go. Jordan and Maggie wake up together. His hair in this episode was amazing. It was like in twists. I freaking love that hair. And she says, I want things in my life that I can control. So she's like, 2 things I can control: my thesis, which confirms that she is in fact still in school, and the demon population, which means they've been not just going out and just beating up people. They've been going out and vanquishing demons. So remember the video that I made? I bring it up all the time about how vanquishing in the show is kind of unethical, because that implies that demons are just evil by nature and that there's nothing redeeming about them and they need to be hunted down and vanquished / murdered / killed. And it's like, if you come across a demon and they're doing bad things, you can even kind of make an excuse for that. But the fact that they're just like, no, we're going to go find demons. And if we find them, I'm going to knock the crap out of them and vanquish them. So go watch my video about the vanquishing. I'll make it the pinned video on this one, because I still go back to that one because I am still just not 100% on the witch versus demon hierarchy here, and how it's terrible when a demon kills a person, but it's completely okay to just find demons to kill. I don't know if I like this, but we'll see what happens. So then there's a scene here, and again, this is the second Easter egg, or not Easter egg, but thing that gets called back to later, is that they say that Jordan and Maggie, they say they were always wearing trackers. Interesting. Like, so he puts a tracker on her. He's got a tracker. And I was like, okay, cool. So like, but they said it and then it was kind of over, and they did get me with the callback on both counts. Actually, it was pretty good. And then Chloe calls Jordan. So cool. Okay. And then that goes off that way. And then Mel is, what did I write there? Oh, so then, gosh. So Mel is looking at the letter. So Kayla left a letter in the first episode, but we didn't get to see what the letter said. And this is our first time actually seeing what it said. So she's looking at the letter and it says like, "This is too much for me. I have a lot going on. Please don't contact me again." And yeah, and this was this at this point in the episode, she's just like, but Michaela. And I'm just like, I'm still annoyed at this point that Mel is still calling her Michaela. And I did talk about this in the first episode, and I'll harp on this a little bit later. But literally, the girl introduced herself as Kayla. Everyone she knows calls her Kayla. Everybody's been calling her Kayla. But then the moment that Mel finds out that Kayla is short for Michaela, she starts calling her Michaela. And I'm just like, it sucks because I don't like that. But also, it's exactly kind of the character that Mel is. She's kind of overbearing, a little bit controlling. She's the kind of person who would do that, right? Because she thinks she knows better than you. Like, it lends to her, like, I keep calling her and I keep bothering her because she doesn't know what she wants. I know what she wants. And I know she says her name's Kayla, but her name's actually Michaela. It's like, there's a lot of like little things that I'm just like, yeah, this is exactly the kind of person that Mel is. So it actually kind of makes sense for her character to do that. But I'm telling you that if I was Michaela, I would have told her off even earlier than Kayla did. Just like, look, I said I don't go by that. So also in this scene, we confirm that Mel is still a professor. So there's that as well. See, so like they're reestablishing these characters. Maggie's still in school. Mel is still a gender studies professor. She gets a text from Hot Elf Girl, which I really liked. I love again that they're bringing more of the supernatural creatures in. I wish that we would have seen the elf. I'm actually really interested in how they do elves in this. If it's just like a pretty person with pointy ears. I mean, I guess that's one way, but it would be interesting to see if they took it in another direction or if they did anything different with elves. But yeah, so I like that. Then we cut to a scene where Harry is writing names in the Book of Elders, new names for the charmed ones, and he writes Macy's name, and it turns red and it disappears. And yeah, it was an interesting scene. Harry had a lot of ups and downs in this episode, but it was an interesting scene. I guess for me, it was weird because I was like, I didn't know that it was Harry's job to write the names of the charmed ones in the Book of Elders. It seems like the Book of Elders was magical and it would just do it itself. But apparently not. Apparently he has to draw on it with invisible ink, and then it happens. So it's interesting. It was an interesting scene. I didn't know that was his responsibility to do, or if he's just messing with the Book of Elders, because what would have happened if he's just started writing in the book, and what if it started doing a whole bunch of weird other things? Oh, it's weird. So Jordan tells Harry that Chloe's sister is dead and lays the talisman. Like he's like, and it's the talisman. And then Harry goes like, "Oh, you mean like the song?" And I'm like, "I know, right? Like dali mi banana, just like the song." And he goes, "You mean like the song? Tally man, he keeps count. Tally man, don't step out. If you're good, then he pays. If you're not, then he slays." I wrote it down. And I was like, so they made up a whole other song for Taliman. But just the sheer moment of, "You mean like the song?" I was laughing my ass off. It's like, of course I mean the song. But yeah, so apparently the Taliman is this magical nursery rhyme, for like, people in the supernatural world. He then says something to the effect, and I meant to look it up before I actually jumped on here. So Jordan is played by Jordan Chase. So I wanted to look up Jordan Chase Phantom of the Opera. Phantom of the Opera. I was thinking that it was going to end up being if it was going to end up being, let me just go to IMDb. What am I even doing here? IMDb. So I was thinking that it could have been like a callback to like what Jordan Chase does outside, outside the show. I'm going to see if it does say here. So let's see. Jordan Chase from Charmed. What's happening? Why can't I find him? He's a person, right? That exists. Where is he? All right, hold on. I know. I'm doing this in the moment. Okay. No, it's Jordan Chase. Jordan Chase is the character's name. Jordan Donica is the. I'm so stupid. So I was gonna see. So he was on Broadway. So let's see if Jordan Donica did any Phantom of the Opera, which he did. So wonderful. I'm noticing that. I was like, there's no reason for him to say we can't all be Phantom of the Opera if that wasn't an actual callback. But yeah, I'm actually looking it up here. Let's can I share my screen here? Let's see what's going on here. I want to share. Oh man, it's gonna make me do this thing. All right. Well, I can't share the screen, but look up Jordan Donica, Phantom of the Opera, and they have one here for Music of the Night. All I Ask of You. There's a bunch of them here. So yeah, definitely do that. So yeah, so immediately I was like, he must have actually done some Phantom of the Opera. Anyway, I know that's like a really bad side tangent, but in my brain I was like, it's obvious. It's obvious. So Bryn visits Kayla, and then Kayla's like, "Hey, I was gonna tell you that I'm magical," and she goes, "What? Are you sick again?" And she's like, "No, no, no, I'm kidding, I'm kidding." And then I was just like, "Really? That's where you went with that?" It's like, I actually have powers, and then she's just like, "You must be sick." It was a weird response, but also I kind of get it because she's that worrisome friend. Um, yeah, that worrisome friend that everybody wants. Okay, so I actually really like Bryn, by the way. I'm not insulting Bryn, but it was just an odd response. So then Mary Poppins, we learn because she comes back, she goes to the junkyard looking for Michaela. Oh, I just did it. Oh, looking for Kayla. And she's feeding the bag, and she feeds the bag like this thing, and they're like hunting. It actually was it was like a nice establishing shot, but it wasn't super important. I noticed that Mel, she has a secret stash of matchbooks hidden in like the command center for going to the Blue Camellia. And I was wondering why she's hiding them, because now, like, she already revealed that she's been going there. Everybody now knows about the place in the first episode. So like, I understand why maybe she was hiding it before, but is there a reason for her to still be hiding it? So that was a little odd for me. It was weird. Okay. I was able to bring it up. So I'm going to hit play, and I'm going to share this little video of Jordan Donica doing Phantom of the Opera.
Open up your mind, let your fantasies unwind in this darkness which you know cannot find. The darkness of the music of the night. Let your mind start a journey through a strange new world. Leave all thoughts of the world you.
Anyway, okay, so that's that. I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew that I was telling the truth. So yeah, so that's why, I mean, so he's coming to this show with like an amazing pedigree in terms of singing, which was why they took advantage of it in season 2. Because also, gosh, Sarah Jeffrey, thank you. Oh, my brain. She also, has a background in singing and stuff. So yeah, they're very good singers. So I'm glad that they took advantage of it in that scene. So yeah, so it was weird that she was still kind of hiding the matchbooks, but she uses the computer flashes, the witch computer. I won't go into how much I still kind of don't like the witch computer, but it's a good kind of narrative tool that they can use to just kind of alert people to things. Now it's there. There's trouble in Philly. So she goes, she visits Kayla, and Kayla's like, "You left me 12 voicemails." And I'm like, that doesn't sound like that's that many. I thought it would have been way more than that. And then Kayla says, "Also, by the way, stop calling me Michaela. Only my family calls me Michaela. I'm Kayla to you." And I was just like, bam! I was just like, stop that crap. So like, yeah, but like, why the hell are you doing that? But I like the fact though that I said that, and I think the writers were like, let's have Mel call her Michaela, because that'll just really annoy this guy named Aloy on YouTube. But then we can have redemption for Kayla, and then Mel will learn her lesson. And I was like, yeah. So I think they did it just for me. So then we go back to but then yeah, so like they're like, "You're in danger." Like they're like, "Michaela, you in danger, girl." That's bad Whoopi Goldberg. And she's just like, "Yeah, but like, get the hell out of here." So they're like, "Ooh, we're gonna stalk her from afar." So we go back to the Pixie house, and Chloe and Harry, they actually have kind of an interesting kind of connection over having a lost loved one. And it turns out that Annie had a matchbook to go to the blue camellia. So she's been dealing in underground magic stuff. So the talisman is connected to the blue camellia. All right, so that's where we're at there. It's all going to come back around though. So Mel is so this was a weird thing. So to stalk. Well, okay, so I'm seeing Dissidus. Only my family can call me Michaela. Maybe it's a hint as to who she actually is. I don't think it is. I mean, she's adopted, so she did have parents. They just weren't her birth parents, and it doesn't make them any less her family or her parents. So, like, they named her Michaela because even her birth certificate was Jane Doe. So, her family that she was adopted by, they named her that. Like, that's the whole thing. It's like, so it's like maybe it's like that was it's like no, it's like she didn't even get the name. It's not Michaela on the birth certificate. So no, I don't think that that's the case. I mean, it could be also the case, but I don't think it's the case. So to stalk Kayla from afar, Mel says it's cool. I have this spell that I can make magical binoculars if I do this. And I'm like, really? Because like for all this is weird. Like you would be less conspicuous if you actually just had binoculars on than if you're just looking like this. Because then people are going to be like, what the hell is that lady doing? Is she acting like she's got binoculars? Like it was just an odd spell. But also, it was funny. I enjoyed it. I thought it was funny. But she sees that Kayla's just kind of having a normal night. And then and this is the thing, right? Is that she didn't just go like, wow, I think I understand now. It's, because that's what would have happened in the previous seasons is she would have said, wow, she would have like just started talking to herself. Wow, I kind of understand now what Kayla was thinking when she didn't want to give up her normal life to come and have a life of crazy magicalness. And it's just like, instead, like you saw Mel doing this and then she took it down and she kind of went, and then you're like, she got it. Like all of that. Like there was no dialogue needed. The actress was able to just convey that, wow, she gets it now. So I liked that. And that's one of those things, like I said, show, don't tell, right? It's like, you got it. She didn't have to tell you. So anyway. So Maggie finds Mary Poppins at, I'm just going to keep calling her Mary Poppins, at Kayla's bus. That's or motor coach is what she called it. I was like, what? And the tentacles fly out of the bag. So then she tells Mel that, and Mel's like, oh yeah, it's called a Vitra. It hunts witches who show magic off to normal people. And I'm like, okay. And and then we actually have a nice moment with Maggie where she says, I'm kind of scared to bring Kayla into all of this because this is kind of crazy. And then that's where she calls her murdery Poppins, which I was like, yes, I called it. And then let's see. So then Bryn gets to see the butterfly fly off the jacket, now knows about magic, and the fire alarm goes off. So then the Vitra is what it is, goes after Kayla, and the charmed ones come and they back her up, and she, the Vitra beats the snot out of Maggie and then Mel freezes the umbrella. And so I was like, with the umbrella too, I was like, that's so Mary Poppins to be fighting with an umbrella too. Like they definitely were using Mary Poppins here. Actually, I kind of wish that they wouldn't have said murdery Poppins, because then only people who know Mary Poppins and completely understand the character would have been able to call it out. Other people would have just been like, I wonder who that reminds me of. But I knew it. So this was my thing about this scene. This was a weird scene, right? Because she beats up Maggie, and then Mel freezes the umbrella, and then she opens the bag to attack the charmed ones, but they move out of the way, and Bryn was behind them, and Bryn gets impaled with the tentacle. And by the rules of apparently this episode, they say, well, there's a no exceptions rule for revealing magic to a mortal, and you just did that, Vitra. So then the bag eats the Vitra. But that didn't really make sense to me because the Vitra didn't like use magic. All she did was open the bag and reveal the tentacle monster, which would technically mean that the tentacle monster should have eaten itself. The tentacle monster revealed its own magic. Like, she opened the bag, it didn't have to come out. It came out though. It was kind of its own choice, because you also noticed that it could choose not to come out if it didn't want to. So it was kind of weird, right? So I was like, but again, this is one of those things like, okay, like, fine, in the show logic, I guess that kind of makes sense. But literally, the bag should have eaten itself, and the Vitra should technically still be alive, even though she's maybe not even a Vitra. If she's maybe not even a Vitra if she doesn't have the bag, because when Mel was saying like, oh, did she walk around like this and did she have a bag? Oh, then that's a Vitra. So without the bag, she might not even be a Vitra. So the Vitra eating her, I guess, is fine because maybe they're one and the same. So that's why it was the no nonsense, and that's why the bag ate her, even though the bag should have just eaten itself. I'll stop now, but that was a weird kind of leap of logic there that was fine and it was good, but also a little weird. There you go. Uh, so now I'm gonna cut back now to Jordan and Harry, because they go to the Blue Camilla and the bartender is reluctant to give any information. I was like, okay. But Roxy calls, the owner, and she calls via phone and she says, it's okay, you can tell them the information. And then like, so the bartender was like, so there's a leprechaun who deals in coins, obviously. But you know what? This is weird, right? Because now I'm like, this is now twice in 2 episodes that Roxy has helped them. So if the song is, the Tallyman, the Tallyman's all about like doing, like accruing debt, right? And basically Roxy has now helped them twice and they haven't done crap for her. So really, like, I think Roxy might have something to do with Tallyman now. Just from, there's no reason why the characters in the show should think that, but as a viewer, it makes sense to me that Roxy would be either in league with the Tallyman or is the Tallyman or something like that. So for me, yes, I actually like that as an idea. But then she points them over to a leprechaun, Frank, who is a middleman for these coins, apparently. And Harry does this really cool thing where he says that he poisoned all the wine. So you better tell me what I want to know and where you got these coins before I, or I won't heal you of the poison. And I was like, oh, that was really like, that's a really like, it's a really cool way for somebody who has healing powers to like use them for evil. Like just poison everybody and then just heal yourself. And it's just like, hey, by the way, I really like that. But then of course he was bluffing, but I think it would have been kind of cool if he wasn't bluffing. That's just my thought on it. But I also find it interesting. This was a weird thing that I was thinking about, was the fact that everybody's just walking around talking about the Tallyman. But like, Annie died by just writing down his name, but just anybody else can just Tallyman, 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 Tallyman. Just everybody's just saying a Tallyman constantly and nothing's happening to them. It may be because, obviously Annie had the coin, so she was like in league, and so she was bound by certain rules because she had a coin. Maybe that's why, but it was just interesting that just like, you would think it was kind of a Voldemortish sort of thing, that like there would be repercussions by saying the name, even though there wasn't really one for Voldemort, but that was more social construct. But it just seemed weird that like just everybody's walking around saying Tallyman, 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 but like only Annie had to die from saying it. So weird, but also understandable. I get it. Because she did make the deal, and that's what Vina Fan just said. Yeah, basically, I think she was probably bound to rules and stuff for taking the coin, which makes sense, but it just seems weird that she had died for the thing that now everybody's just walking around just talking about it all the time. But Jordan and Harry get led to a cabin in the woods, and then they like set off a pressure switch for some explosives. And then Maggie and Kayla show up because they have the tracker. And I was like, bam! I was like, man, that was a really good callback. Good job, writers. Because I had completely forgotten about it. And then when they showed up, I was like, why? Wait, why are they there? How did they find them? The trackers. Because really, it was like kind of a throwaway thing. But I was happy that it was like that. So, also, I looked at how far Harry and Jordan were from each other. And like, I don't know if you've seen Jordan, but he's very tall and has very long arms. I feel like if they did like just reach, they probably could have touched. That's just my thought. That's just my thought. Um, they look like they were probably close enough. But yeah, but we also did learn from there that Jordan's knockoff version of the of being a white lighter, he can't orb, but Harry still can. So okay, I was like, okay, well, but also like Harry went through the whole process of dying and coming back, whereas Jordan just got hit with the energy. So it kind of makes sense that he would have knockoff version of being a white lighter, but maybe he'll have something different because he didn't have to die. And what happens when the spirit of a white lighter and those powers are in somebody who didn't have to die first? Like it could be a whole thing. I'm excited to see what happens with that. So then they're like, we need to cut the fuse using Kayla's power. And then they bring up Macy, like Macy would. It's like, honestly, I wouldn't have even brought up Macy. I would have brought up Mel. I would have been like, Mel could have just melted it and then it would have just been done, or frozen the bomb and then it would have been done. I don't know. I wouldn't immediately bring up the dead, the dead charmed one. But she draws Slingy on and brings it to life. And I was like, yay. And what this also confirms for us is that it doesn't have to be a super detailed drawing. It just has to be a drawing generally of the thing, and then she can still manifest it even from just a simple drawing. It doesn't have to be fully fleshed out and like colored with like acrylics and all that stuff. So this also did confirm something else about the use of her power, which I did really like. So she draws Slingy because we know that she's really good with a slingshot. So she draws Slingy and then she goes, bam, and it's done. Yay. And then Bryn acts like she's dead, but then the healing powers of Jordan and Harry, they are able to bring her back. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, and that's pretty much the episode. Like Kayla says, I'm going to stay behind and figure this whole thing out. They put her bus, her motor coach in the backyard so that she can stay there and she doesn't have to stay in the house and she can have her own space, which I dig that, honestly, because she seems like the kind of character who kind of wants to take this whole thing slow. So yes, Harry writes Kayla's name in there and it stays. So, okay. And then the tally man comes to his cabin, grabs a spider and then leaves. And I like that because that means that spider is probably like, it probably was like sitting there and like watching the whole time and like now saw the whole conversation. So now knows that they're both white lighters, but one of them is a knockoff white lighter, knows that one of them can draw stuff because the door was open the whole time. So knows that one can draw stuff and manifest it. Knows that the other one has a jacket that is easily drawn on. But like, so there's some stuff, and I think that they even, oh yes, because Harry did say like, and you're a charmed one just like the others. So it's like, so now the tally man knows everything that happened in that place. That's what that spider I think was for. It was just there just so that he knows everything that's happening. And then that he grabs the spider and then leaves. And I was just like, hey, that's cool. Now, of course, seeing him come in and hearing the deep voice and stuff, it makes me think maybe it's not Roxy. But Roxy, I think, is in leagues somehow, even if it's not, being the tally man. But I do like it. I mean, there's no reason that Roxy would have just let them find all this information unless there was something in it for her. Maybe she's got to deal with the tally man to lead the charmed ones to him. Who knows? Or maybe the tally man is her dad. We don't know anything about Roxy at this point, so could be just about anything. But that's my general thoughts on that was actually quite a bit. What was that? That was like 40 minutes. I usually am done kind of going through all of my stuff like in about 20-25 minutes, but I had a lot to say this episode. And honestly, like 90% of it was very, very positive. A couple little quibbles, but those can be just thrown up to like, movie and TV, hey, you kind of need to do these tropes in order for it to work. Otherwise, you're really just overthinking it and kind of going crazy with it. So I'm gonna start going through some of these things. An interesting twist in season 1 was all in, and then Mel was unsure, and now Mel is all in and Maggie is unsure. I feel like since they lost their powers in the second season and Mel like really poured herself into it, it's not really necessarily that much of a flip. It is a flip from first season, but it's not a flip in the characters as they are established right now. Because this is Mel. Like, Mel has been obsessed with the magic ever since they lost the magic. So little bit, and it is a neat bus. I agree with you there. Yes, Mel was like, Michaela, and Kayla's just like, it's Kayla, motherfucker. So yeah, there's that. It would surprise me if the writers actually watch these for the ideas. I don't think that they're watching this for the ideas. I mean, I'm a screenwriter, so I actually love throwing ideas out of like ways I would have done it. But also, I'm sure that what they do is they look at stuff like this in order to see how their ideas went over with the fan base. And I would say so far, writing team, you guys are doing great. So far, these first 2 episodes, wonderful. Jordan is a thirst trap. Abby, you are 100%. 100% correct. I think Mel also said something about finalizing a syllabus in the first episode. Yeah, I think she did. It was just mostly just it was just thrown out there. But I don't know. It was a whole thing. The bag reminds me of Fantastic Beasts and where to find them. That's true. I mean, for me, it reminded me of Mary Poppins, obviously, but that movie too, definitely. Let's see. I actually addressed that one already. But Bryn hinted on something, or it seemed like she may possibly know something, or Kayla was searching for them in the past. I think Kayla was probably searching. I actually know a couple of my friends are adopted, and I know for a fact that there's just comes a time in their life where they're like, yeah, I want to know who my birth parents were. So it would make sense that Kayla had looked for her birth parents, but the way that Bryn said it, it sounds like she never found out about her birth parents, but that she had looked for them. And that's actually a thing, that when somebody gets sick, a lot of the time, the doctors and stuff will be like, well, what's your family history? Kayla probably started looking for her family at that point, because she's like, I need to know what this possibly could be. And, eventually found out it was leukemia, but like, is that hereditary? Does she have anything else that she needs to be worried about in her bloodline? And that would be the trick there, is that people, you guys who are way better at this sort of thing of remembering every little moment of every episode, look back over the last 3 seasons. Did anyone mention that cancer or leukemia ran in the Vera family, or that had anything to do with their family? Now, if it is, then that is kind of a hint, but I don't remember anything to that effect. So that is something that we, you guys can scour the internet for. But if leukemia runs in the family, then that could point us in a certain direction. So there's that. Let's see. They're having more of a funny, goofy atmosphere in season 4. And I like that. I do like the lighter atmosphere. Even the bad, demonish character this episode was Mary Poppin-ish, so I like it. I like it a lot, actually. I kind of like the serious vibe, the themes and stuff paired with the occasional goof. Exactly. 100%. The murder Poppins, getting eaten by her bag reminds me of the mirror demon getting killed by its own mirror. Exactly. Which is kind of like one of those things like, yeah, if you carry around a monster that eats things, yeah, you're probably going to get eaten. It's going to happen probably. So like, don't carry around the thing that eats people. I assume because she sicked it on them both to blame a bit. Well, and that's the thing, right? And again, it's like, are they symbiotic? Like, can one even exist without the other? Because you notice the bag ate the Vitra, and then like it wasn't even like, now destroy the bag. It was just like they just moved on because it was over. So interesting stuff, though. I'm loving the new season with the Shuma Gareth plug for the Marvel fans and Doctor Strange fans in the Charmed universe. Ooh, yeah, that's it. I do not know how Mel memorized the entire Vera book of Shadows in like about a year. Marisol was an elder and had to consult the book. Makes no sense for her to be at that level this soon. I wouldn't agree with that because again, season 2, it wasn't just a year. Season 2, she she was all over it. So I wouldn't even, and you know, maybe she's just got a really good memory. I know I don't, but maybe she does. And also, if you look at the Book of Elders, I mean, it's maybe 500, 600 pages. Like it's not that big if you look at like what the page count looks like. I mean, maybe it's 2,000 pages, but if it's 2,000 pages, she could be like, oh, did they carry a bag with a tentacle in it? Like she's not quoting the lines. She's not saying, and I remember it was page 376 and it said that the vitra is like she didn't say that, but she like remembers like, oh yeah, that's called a vitra because of these things that I do remember. So I think it's fine. Like she's not quoting the book. But she remembers big chunks and the important stuff. I think I'm fine with it. Let's see. Harry's true self is closer to Jimmy in reality. The Harry we know was a carved out shadow of the good concentrated. Our original Harry was a magical construct by the elders. Right. Yeah, well, yes, but I think the idea is that Jimmy is no more and that they actually are one now. So he's a complete person. But also, if you remember, Harry was fighting a lot with that, and he was fighting like, am I actually good or am I just the good half? But he had come to terms with the fact that no, actually, the person that he was before was not a terribly bad person. Jimmy was not an evil person because he died saving, the little girl. So, there's a whole thing. Let's see here. I'm glad I now know that Jordan can't orb and that Harry and him can heal each other. Yeah, I think that was a good little thing. Although, can they heal each other? Because they didn't actually heal each other. They just kind of used their powers next to each other because neither of them were actually poisoned. So we don't actually know if they can heal each other. We just know that they can heal other people. So that is a little bit I think what that scene was supposed to tell us was that they can heal each other. I'm just saying that since there was no actual poison in the wine, it's not 100% is all I'm saying. So let me see. Our current Harry and Jordan is a new remix of the original White Lighter creation spell without the splitting light and dark. So this is a newly human Harry with new White Lighter powers. Yes. And a Jordan human with pseudo White Lighter powers, but not entirely because he didn't have to go through the whole creation spell. So that's why it's interesting just to see where that ends up leading there. Where was the Vitra when the charmed ones were blabbing to everyone she can't be the only one left? The Vitra was maybe hunting them down. I mean, the Vitra basically just kind of came to town. The world is a big place, and it doesn't look like the Vitra can like teleport around. So, maybe the Vitra was coming after them and never got to them because they were dealing with a million other things. Maybe the Vitra was one of the demons in Julian's like giant jail for demons, and that's what happened. Maybe the Vitra would have come after them, but she was incarcerated unfairly, by the way. Harry could have jumped on Jordan and teleported easily. I don't know about that because if the moment that Harry blipped away, he'd have to reappear, grab Jordan, and then blip away again. And yes, it is fast, but it's like 2 seconds, 3 seconds for each orb. So it'd be 2 to 3 seconds, 2 to 3 seconds, and then 2 to 3 seconds to go away. So let's say generously it's 6 seconds, non-generously it's 9 seconds. But if it only takes 1 second for the explosion to go off, then Harry's fine, but Jordan would have his legs blown off maybe, and then they'd get away. Like, maybe it wouldn't be enough to kill Jordan, but it would be enough to really severely hurt Jordan. So I was fine with and that's the thing too, is that when you have characters who teleport, you have to come up with reasons why they're not just teleporting away from everything. Like, you have to come up with reasons. Otherwise, it's just like, well, why didn't you just teleport away? Why didn't you just teleport? Just teleport in, teleport out, just teleport whatever, just teleport all the time. And so yeah, you have to come up with reasons. And I thought that was a pretty good one. Let's see. Jumping to teleport, yeah, would have been a big risk, exactly. Let's see. Thinking on Lucifer Deals or something. Yeah, I had said it was like, what, Needful Things, that book. Yeah, it was kind of something like that, I think. Let me see, where are we at on time? All right, so where is Celeste? I'm curious if the Tallyman is the reason Kayla was given up after birth. I don't know if the Tallyman and her are going to end up being connected. I don't think that there's any reason to believe that they are, since she started having the dream 6 months ago, but the Tallyman is only just now showing up. They could be connected, but I don't think that there's any reason to believe that they're connected. At this point, at least, I don't think that they've given us any reason to. That doesn't mean that it won't be connected later, but they haven't given us any reason to think that they will be. Let's see. What's with the CW and putting adoptive women of color at fire stations and living in vehicles? At least she didn't live with a plant like Ryan Wilder on Batwoman. Okay, so I don't watch Batwoman. But fire stations, that's a thing. It's and I don't know if it exists in every state, but you can, like, legally, if you have a child and you are unable to care for it, you can leave it at a fire station. Like, that is a thing. It's like an ordinance, or I don't know if it's a law, but I know it's an ordinance. Like, fire stations are set up to be basically receiving stations for abandoned children, which is an interesting part of their job. Yeah. My kid's grandfather is a fireman, and he told me a little bit about that. But yeah, you can actually do that. So, what's it, why are they having adoptive women of color at fire stations? That's why, because fire stations is kind of the place where you can just leave a kid. Otherwise, like, you'd have to sign papers and all that stuff, which would then leave a paper trail. So having her be a child left at a fire station means that there is no paper trail to who her parents are. And that's actually a huge point. Otherwise, it would be like, oh, well, then let's just hack into, the adoptive agency and just look up the person who gave them up. So it would be a whole other thing. Living in vehicles, I don't know. But honestly, an artist living in, like, a vehicle that they painted themselves, and they have, like, free reign and they can go anywhere. Like, living in a vehicle, to me, gives the impression that the character is a free spirit and could drive anywhere at any moment and, take up a new life and have new experiences. Like, that's the idea behind living in a vehicle. So living in a vehicle says a lot about a character, and it's kind of shorthand that you can kind of relay that to the audience. The leaving at fire stations, so that there's no paper trail. So hopefully that clears a little bit of that up for you guys. The bar probably does have someone feeding Tallyman information. Otherwise, how would he know they were going to visit his house with enough time to set the spider up? I mean, unless that spider is just always there. What if he's got spiders everywhere? What if he has spiders in the Blue Camilla? So I mean, I don't know. That's a weird thing. But I mean, good point. But maybe he didn't have to set up the spider. Maybe he just knew. But yeah, I mean, it makes sense that he would know that. Again, he probably has spiders in the Blue Camellia. Yeah, so there's that. I like the magical community being back and the focus on the Charmed One sisterhood, season 2 and 3, where Demon World deep dive, and not even necessarily in a great way, because I feel like it grayed up a lot of the black and white without a lot of resolutions. You guys have heard me talk about that at length. Go watch any of my seasons 2 and 3 reviews for those episodes. Go binge through them because I talk a lot about the implications of a lot of the stuff introduced in seasons 2 and 3 that were never necessarily resolved. With leukemia, there might have been a bone marrow transplant. Maybe Marisol gave hers. It depends, because if she had leukemia, I think they said 4 or 5 years prior to now. Again, look back at the first season of the show, see if Marisol said anything about being a donor or anything like that. I don't believe I remember anything like that. They also don't necessarily take donations from like older people. I mean, not to say that they wouldn't, but like it's definitely low on the agenda. Like they would definitely take it from a suitable donor that was younger than one that was older due to bone density and whatnot. But you know what? Maybe Marisol drank her milk and she had great bone density. So who knows? Season 2, The Book of Shadows was not available. And Josefina, why didn't she bring a notebook with her brujeria magic? That would have been cool. Most occultists keep a grimoire nearby. Well, I mean, but Josefina was she introduced in season 2? Oh God, now I'm forgetting everything. I thought she was kind of brought in season 3, but you know, if she was brought in season 2, it was definitely the tail end of season 2. It was season 2. What season were the bad guys of the Perfecti? That was season 3, right? No, season 3 was, no, it was season 3. So yeah. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. Yeah, the Book of Shadows was not in season 2. It was the Book of Elders. And then they started making a book of, I'm using the term Book of Shadows, Book of Elders interchangeably, which I shouldn't be doing. She could even be Dexter's or Ray's daughter and have had bone marrow transplant from Marisol. Dexter and Ray don't have magic in them, so being her daughter, being either of their daughters doesn't make any sense. Neither does the bone marrow transplant. I feel like that's pushing it. I mean, I don't think it even necessarily needs to be Marisol's blood or bone marrow or whatever that would kind of ignite something magical in Kayla. It could be anybody's, and could be, if that's even how, because I don't think that that's actually how magic is transferred. I don't think you can get a blood transfusion from a witch and then all of a sudden you have powers. I don't think that that's how this universe works. That's an interesting idea, though. Let's see. Jimmy, Marisol, and Charity were all very dark gray characters in actuality. Not Marisol. Marisol she seems fine. I mean, she's not gray in the fact that she's like, because there's black and white and then there's gray. There's also shades of gray. There's not 50 of them in this universe, but there are shades of gray as well. So there's like gray over here where like it's still mostly good. And then there's gray over here where it's mostly evil. And Marisol's definitely on this end. Charity was just a straight up betrayer. So that's not gray either. That's just bad. That's just bad. Hi, Sean. Let me see. So I thought she was an orphan and that's why she was living on the street in a bus. But if her mom was alive and the Charmed Ones invited her to stay, why choose a bus over 2 nice big houses? Because she likes living in her bus. Like, again, she's an artist. She's a free spirit. She wants to live in her bus because it's hers. Like, it's like, yeah, it's like if somebody came and said, come live in my giant mansion. Well, so it's going to be my mansion? No. It's my mansion. You can come stay though. It's like, and maybe she doesn't want to live with her parents. When she was sick from leukemia, she probably stayed with her parents and she probably thinks, and I'm going way out there, but like, what if she believes that she was a burden to them? So she left so that she doesn't have to burden them anymore. She's like, hey, you guys took care of me for years. I'm actually finally better. I'm going to go out into the world and I'm going to do something. Like, so choosing to live in a perfectly suitable living arrangement. Like, it's not as if she's forced to, like, oh no, I have to live on a bus. It's just like, no, that bus, she made that. Like, it's beautiful and it's hers and she made it exactly the way she wants it. So it's not like, I don't know, maybe she, not everybody likes living in big houses. You've seen people living in those tiny houses. Some people like that. Let's see. I wonder if Harry and Jordan's healing on Bryn will have an effect on them. Didn't seem easy. No. It wasn't that it wasn't easy. And I think that's the thing, is that Jordan was doing it, but you have to remember that Harry up to this point has not been interested in intervening in anything because he's still, so this was actually the first time that Harry's like, yes, I'm joining in and I'm going to do this now. It was basically like Harry. And then that's why when Harry was just like, you are a charmed one, Kayla, it was basically him accepting that Macy is gone, but he still has to move forward. There was a lot there. Again, so much great writing here because all of this stuff was there without them saying it. So him admitting that she was the new charmed one, writing her name in the book, and him healing Bryn, those, like, that combination of things means that he's now finally ready to start actually moving forward as a character, which I love. Mel is going to need a power up like Piper. So for when she was soon to be the elder sister, Mel's power is gradual already versions of Piper. I mean, I don't feel like anybody needs a power up. I feel like we should continue to explore the powers as they exist. Like, the ability to make people feel things right now is so underutilized. There's a lot of really cool things you can do with that power. And I don't think that we've really even explored that entirely. Kayla's powers take more time and focus. It takes more time and focus now because she's new, but she could get better at it. So also, and it could be like, I'm trying to remember the TV show or book I read, but they were like tattoo sorcerers that they would just have tattoos of like anything that they ever wanted. So they would just be like, oh, there's a fight coming up. Take this tattoo of a sword. Now I have a sword. Oh, I have a tiger tattoo. Oh, now there's a tiger. Go fight. So like, it could be cool. Like if she has that jacket and she like stitches like different things into the jacket, a knife, a lizard, and a snake, a dragon, or like whatever. It could be cool to then later she's wearing the thing that she can make come out. So that could be cool. So I mean, it feels like right now it's very slow, but it's also she's very new to it, and her power just requires a little bit more planning. So if you come to whatever the fight is and you have the right drawings or whatever on you, then you're great. You're going to totally ruin them. So let's see. So now that we know Mella's older than Kayla, there goes my Marisol arriving to America and donating her eggs to earn money theory. Yeah, and I think too the fact that she's like the middle sister now, that does throw things off, a little bit in terms of like, is she related? Which again, I hope that she's not. Macy got her demon side through a blood transfusion, a whole storyline to make her part another race of a being. So it wasn't just blood, though. It was blood mixed with necromancy. So like the demon blood itself didn't necessarily, I guess the demon blood did kind of give her powers, but demon blood is also different than witch blood. So we don't know anything about how witch blood can give powers or whatever. If demon blood can, then awesome. But also that was demon blood with necromancy mixed in there. So it wasn't just a blood transfusion. It was with necromancy. And there have been half demons, but half demon, half witches or whatever, but those are all, through birth. So the only one that we know of is Macy. And again, Macy's was not just blood. It was also dark magic. So, there you go. Macy became a half demon by getting demon's blood. So, exactly. So, but not just the blood. Let's see. Marisol was a serial cheater and liar. She consulted with dark witches and Sarkana against the elders. Yeah, but the elders were terrible. And she, consulted with dark witches against the elders, but yeah, but she did that to save her child. So that doesn't necessarily make her bad. Serial cheater, she cheated with Dexter. Like, we don't know of any other person. It's not like she was out there just hoeing around. There were two men. Like, like people, two people is not a lot. You are not a hoe for two people. So hey, everybody can hold their own judgment and whatnot. I'm a sex positive person. If you want to go and get down with, you dude and create a beautiful little child named Maisie, go for it. I mean, you should have told your husband, but I'm not gonna shame you and call you a hoe because you had sex with one other person other than your husband. Oh no. Do you think Kayla's headaches can mean her memory was erased in the past? It could. I don't think that there's any reason to think that, though, because she was abandoned as a newborn. So it's not as if, she even, what is there to remember if she didn't? I mean, but you're right. I mean, you're right. There could have been a million different encounters with magical things that she just doesn't remember. Could be. Maybe the people who adopted her were part of, maybe they maybe they knew magic to like repress her powers, and now they're coming to like, who knows? There's so many options. There's a million different ways this could go. So let's see. The show Don't Tell, the show Don't Tell is great this season, 100%. Let's see. Need more regular use of magic and action. Yes. And that's the thing, right? It's like, I don't need a power up. I just need them to use their powers. Like, they have really good powers already. Let's see. I think the show needs 7 more minutes of screen time for episodes. I feel like I watch more commercials during the live viewing. Well, now that I was watching it on CW app and there was just tons of commercials. Now I'm watching it on, because I have YouTube TV now, so it just records it for me and I fast forward through the commercials. So it's way better viewing experience nowadays. Let's see. I'm sure Kayla will keep a sketchbook on hand for things. And let's see. Hopefully she starts drawing powers like fireballs, energy balls. I think it's going to be a manifestation of things. I don't think it's going to end up being a, she can just draw anything and it just happens. I think it's going to be, I can draw a rock and now I have a rock. I can draw a gun and now I have a gun. Because she is a manifestation witch. That's what she is, not a I can draw anything and make anything happen witch. Because I think that would be way too powerful for that sort of thing. There you go. Were the elders really that terrible? Yes. I think they were. I mean, the white lighter ritual itself is a great example as to why the elders were bad. But that's just me. Slingy is a clever choice. My dumb self was saying draw a really long stick. And see, a really long stick. I was thinking like maybe she draws, the long distance, like the tree trimmer, like the long stick with the clippers at the end, and you just go like this and you go, and then you cut the wire so then it doesn't go off. Like, that's what I was thinking, but she went with Slingy and that worked too. I didn't think that you would just have to hit it. I thought you'd have to like shoot like a sharp stone at it to cut I thought it was going to be a cut the fuse thing, not a just hit it with something. Cause like, what kind of bomb gets diffused by hitting it with something? That was just an odd choice, but hey, it worked out. Hey, you're new. I don't think I've read your stuff before. I think Kayla's definitely their sister because Book of Elders book would show wrong if she's not one of them. Also, I'm excited because they will connect show with OG. Well, the book would have rejected her if she was not a charmed one. But that doesn't mean that you're a sister. So that's the trick there. And I hope that she's not a sister. I hope that they switch things up. Let's switch stuff. Switch stuff up. And I heard that they're going to be doing something with the OG. We'll see what happens, because I think that's pretty deep into the season before we're going to have anything with that. Let's see. Marisol never had closure with Dexter. They were forced apart by magic, basically. These unresolved feelings bubbling up. Yeah, I agree. Really want Prudence from Netflix Sabrina to come to the show. Now, that would be wonderful. I think that would be weird because witches in that show are very different from the witches in this show. So I don't know if those two really cross over so well. So let's see. You were thinking like long shears. Well, yeah, I mean, like tree trimmers. Yeah. Maybe she's not a sister, but who knows? I mean, exactly. I don't know. I'm hoping she is not a sister because I think that would make it more interesting. Maybe she is. Who knows? Maybe she's not a sister by blood, but a sister witch. I mean, but then are all witches sisters in that case? I don't know. All right. Well then, you know what? We're over an hour, so I'm gonna call it there. Some really good discussion here, though, and I think that we really came down to a lot of things that are amazing things in this episode. I have been so enjoying this stuff, and I love coming here and doing this live stream. I'm going to keep doing it every weekend that there's a new episode, and we'll keep this going, and we'll see if any of the things that I've come up with come to light, or if any of the stuff you guys have come up with come to light. But I've really loved it. I'm actually about to go and watch, because if you didn't catch it on Kristen Maldonado's channel, she just interviewed Sarah Jeffrey and Melanie Diaz. So I'm gonna go watch that now. So go watch that. Go to Kristen Maldonado's channel and go check that out, because it is. I can't wait to watch that interview. It's going to be wonderful, and I'm hoping that they maybe give us little tidbits and whatnot. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Otherwise, don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification so you always know when the Turnout puts out a new video. Otherwise, I've been your host, Eloy. This has been the Turnout. Thanks for showing up. See you in the next one.